Welcome to NinjaCast, a photography podcast powered by Studio Ninja, the world's highest rated business management app, built specifically for photographers. Listen and learn as the most successful photographers on the planet share their knowledge to help you transform every element of your photography business. Here's your host, Sally Shaw.
Hi guys, welcome to NinjaCast. Today we are joined by the incredibly talented Natalie Watts. Natalie is an award-winning wedding photographer who's photographed over 230 weddings. She's also been named one of Rangefinder's Rising Stars. More recently, Natalie has stepped into education with her How to Ace group shots and her Success Accelerator course. So without further ado, let's welcome Natalie. Hi, Natalie. Thanks so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. I'm super excited to have you on the show today.
Yes, thank you so much for asking me. It's nice to have a chance to get out of my pajamas and put some makeup on and actually chat to someone.
100%. We are all in that life right now, aren't we? All of us.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So how's things going for you? Obviously, the ever-changing world out there is still ongoing. How's it affected things for you, your business, just your home life in general?
I mean, it's been a year, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's literally affected almost everybody across the whole world, let alone just, not just the wedding industry. I should have had 35 weddings this year. I've actually been quite lucky. I've shot 10. A lot of them have been quite short coverage, but I have actually shot a few full day weddings, which have been nice, very different, but nice. Hopefully a couple more coming up in December as well. But it hasn't been the year that I planned, that anybody planned. No. I have actually been quite appreciative of things slowing down a little bit. I was supposed to have a really, really busy year, and there's a lot that I want to do to work on my business, to build it in different areas. I actually had a 5-year plan, and this year has actually helped me slow down and bring that 5-year plan into more of a 2-year plan, 2 or maybe 3-year plan. So I've actually been quite appreciative of slowing down. Obviously, it hasn't been great with all the weddings being postponed and everything, but it has meant that I have had to step up. You have to step up when things like this happen. You can't just rely on things suddenly being okay. You do need to kind of make things happen yourself. So yeah, I have been okay financially. I've actually been really okay financially, but it's been a very different year to the one that I initially thought was going to be 2020.
Absolutely. It's been, I think it'll be the year that everyone forever remembers, won't it? You'll never have another year like 2020.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope so. Don't touch some wood. Don't say that too soon.
Absolutely.
Hopefully there won't be another year like this. Yeah.
Most definitely. So for our listeners out there, Natalie, that may not have seen your face before or don't currently know much about you, can you delve a little bit more into your journey, kind of right back to when you first started?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So I've always been into photography. I got my first camera when I was about 6 or 7 from Santa. It was just a little point and shoot. I don't even remember what make it was, but way back when I was really little, I used to really enjoy taking photographs on family holidays and of my friends and things like that. And growing up, I was always the one that had a camera in their hand. Obviously it was film photography. I would go and get it printed. I think I used to use triple print a lot. I don't know if you remember them, but you sent off the cartridge, you got a big print and 2 smaller prints. So I took a lot of photographs growing up. And then I got pregnant with my son when I was 17. So that was a bit of a shock. Left college. I was at college doing maths, psychology and fine art as well. Mm-hmm. So I left college, worked full time. And then when my son was 18 months old, I went back to college and I did a foundation degree, which was a fine art foundation degree. So that was at college. Mm-hmm. I did that part-time for a year and then I did it full-time for a year. So when I went in to do it full-time for a year, you had to specialise in one medium, and mine was photography. Mm-hmm. Back then it was in the darkroom because there was no digital cameras back then. So I think we're talking 2004 or 2003, I think that was.
Yeah.
So I did fine art but specialised in photography. My final project was in photography, and part of that college course was that you had to apply to university, and I never had any aspirations of going to university. I didn't really think that I could make it happen, being a single teenage mum. Didn't think that I could make it happen, and I was the only one on my course that got into their first choice university.
That's
so
amazing.
Following that full-time course at college, I went to Nottingham Trent University, and did the photography degree there for 3 years. But alongside my degree, I did lots of other projects. So that was either personal projects, that was shooting for companies for money, shooting for magazines, and I also did a lot of work experience. So the course program meant that you had to do one piece of work experience, but they didn't actually help you do that. So I went out of my way and actually got 3 work experience placements. One was at a photo agency called Photoshoots in London. One was at Bazaar magazine, which I don't know if you've heard of it. It was like kind of a little bit burlesque, a little bit kind of the weird and wonderful. So I did work experience there. And then I also did work experience at Marie Claire, which was also down in London.
Wow.
So my final project at university was really interesting, actually. It was about pets and their owners, but a kind of like slightly macabre, dark twist on it. So it was kind of, pets and their owners. And I got a 2-1, and I was absolutely devastated because I'd put so much into it. I'd organised an opening evening with burlesque performers, and I even had a drink sponsor. I had posters made up, that kind of thing.
Oh my God.
So for your degree show, you could either put a book together or have an opening evening, like an exhibition, and the opening evening. And I got a 2-1, and I was absolutely devastated. But photography is a subjective subject. Honestly, I didn't work on my dissertation, and that's what brought that mark down. But that still meant that I had a portfolio, and I always knew that I wanted to move to London. So I actually got a job at ASOS, and back then nobody really knew who ASOS was. I went down there with my portfolio full of burlesque photographs and these pet portraits and all of the photographs that I'd taken for clients throughout my time at university, and I got the position at ASOS. And back then they had one studio running maybe 3 days a week, so it was really quite a small company. And in the 2 years that I was there, I started as photography and I ended as studio manager, sometimes running a team of up to 16 people. But when I left, they were just about to open their 6th studio, running 6 or 7 days a week. So you can really see the growth throughout that 2 years that I was there.
Absolutely.
I actually got headhunted for a company called Fig Leaves, which is online lingerie, online lingerie and swimwear. And I got paid a lot more than I did at ASOS. But the company was based outside of London. So my son and I were living in London, and I was having to run and drop him off at the childminders, run to the train, get a train out of London to Welwyn Garden City, and then back again. So it was really all go, single mum doing these school runs. And at the same time, I was working for personal projects, building up my portfolio at lunchtimes, evenings and weekends. So it was really full on.
It sounds like you've never stopped.
I haven't really, but I really enjoyed, following this passion. And I think it's always been really important to me to kind of prove people wrong, because when I told certain people that I was pregnant at 17, I got told, "Oh, you're a huge disappointment." So I really feel like that's fueled me over the years to really prove people wrong and really do whatever I can to make things work. I said earlier, you just have to make things work no matter what the years throw at you. And I think that has really fueled me to just do my best and always do more than is expected. So I was building up my portfolio whilst being a single mum, doing school runs and working full time, until it just became way too much. And I was kind of like on the verge of a nervous breakdown almost. And it was like, I can't give up my son. I don't want to give up my photography. The day job is going to have to go. So in September 2010, I handed in my notice at the day job, which was terrifying because I didn't have any regular clients, didn't have any savings. And in fact, there was more going out every month than was coming in. So it's the total opposite of what I would recommend for anyone to do. But I've always been about following my intuition and taking that leap of faith and just really making it work no matter what. So October 2010, I was self-employed. And for the first few years, I mainly photographed fashion. So that's commercial fashion, editorial fashion, portraits, a lot of corporate work as well, that kind of thing. And then somebody that I knew through the fashion industry asked me to photograph her wedding. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, I don't want to be known as a wedding photographer. Wedding photography is really naff. It's really not cool, you know? But I did it. And when I gave them their images, she phoned me up and she was crying and she was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. All these moments that you've captured. And that was in stark contrast to the feedback that I would get from any of my fashion shoots.
Yeah.
Those shoots, I would be working my arse off on the shoot, and the client would be sitting in a chair watching EastEnders on his laptop eating pizza, that kind of thing. Or they'd be on the phone sorting out colour swatches for fabrics for the next collection, whereas I'm a very all or nothing kind of person, and I'd be putting my all into the shoot and they wouldn't really be interested. So the fashion industry was very, very fickle. And it also meant that I didn't know what money was coming in when. And living in London as a single mum, my rent was £1,400 a month. That's just the rent. Then there was council tax and childcare fees and everything else. So I have always had to make it work and bring in the money.
Hustle.
But with weddings, yeah, exactly. But with weddings, I knew when the money would come in. So with fashion, you could get to the Monday and you didn't know what was happening for the month, and then suddenly get booked up for, you know, the next week or two. Whereas with weddings, I thought, oh, okay, so they're booking in advance and I know when this money is coming in. So there was that stability to know when I could feed my child. I mean, he always got fed, don't get me wrong, but you know, you get my point. And I also really, really liked the feedback that I was getting from that type of photography. So for the first 3, 4, 5 years of being self-employed, it was mainly fashion. And then I gradually started to make that transition over. So I think the first year I did maybe 3 weddings. The next year was like 6. The next year was 8. The next year was 9. I think 2014, I shot 9 weddings. And then in 2015, I shot 33. I think that was a transition. So you can kind of see how it really, really made that jump. I made that conscious decision to switch from one genre to the next. And I'd always kept my website separate, but I really put a lot of focus into building the wedding side of the business. But right from that point, a lot of people knew who I was because I was getting my work featured. Even as a fashion photographer, I was getting my work featured in magazines and on wedding blogs. So I was very lucky in the respect that all my very, very first weddings were getting featured on Love My Dress, Whimsical Wonderland Weddings, that kind of thing. So that really helped snowball my business very, very quickly. And yeah, that's kind of, in a very, long story short, has kind of led to where I am today. You know, I've been self-employed now for 10 years. And yeah, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. And I just feel really thankful to be flown all over the world to photograph weddings, places like Hawaii, New York, Iceland, Venice, Paris, Santorini, lots and lots of different places. And yeah, it's kind of helped me build up my personal life as well. You know, my son, he's 19 now. He's doing a finance apprenticeship. He's doing really, really well. And I'm so proud of him. Don't cry. And I am in the process of buying my first house, all by myself, totally by myself, not a penny from anyone else. It's a beautiful 4-bedroom Victorian house. So that is literally happening right now in possibly the worst time ever, a year of COVID, buying a house all by myself. But as I said, I'm a firm believer in following your intuition and making things work. And yeah, it's been an interesting year for sure. But I'm looking forward to seeing where it all leads to and having my lovely house.
Absolutely. Natalie, it sounds like one hell of a journey. Like I feel proud of you, so you should feel like so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah. In terms of kind of, I mean, there must be so much that contributed to getting from A to B on that journey that we've just talked about. I know for a lot of photographers, that have just come into the industry. There's a lot of panic about kind of marketing or how to even physically conduct themselves at a wedding, how to shoot, how to get all these incredible images that we're seeing. And I know we're going to cover those kind of touching on those throughout the interview today. Now, if we start with a bit of marketing, what do you find across the years? Because I'm sure you've tried and tested so many different methods in the last 10 years. What do you feel has really worked for you?
So I think I'll start off by saying is that in terms of marketing, different things work for different people. Mm-hmm. So some people go to big wedding fairs and they book up for the next year or two. Sure. Other people, wedding fairs doesn't work. So it is kind of about finding out what works for you, where your client is, and really, not only targeting them, but being where they can find you as well. For me personally, I like to do a booking origin exercise every year. I mean, this year is an anomaly, so we won't look at this year. But for instance, in 2019, most of my bookings came from Instagram. Then it was referrals. So that's either referrals from past clients or from other photographers. So I think it is really important to, focus on that community, not competition element, because everyone is kind of lifting each other up at the same time. If you find that really nice community around you. SEO, Google, that works for me as well. So I'll note that that's not only my blog, but people finding me on other blogs as well. So feature blogs such as Rock My Wedding and other big wedding blogs. I also get a lot of previous wedding guests booking me because they like how I work on a wedding day. Sometimes they book me without even seeing the images, which is interesting, but they just say, we like how you worked on the wedding day, which is why it is really important to be very aware of how you are conducting yourself on a wedding day. And then a couple through wedding planners, and also there were a couple through wedding fairs as well, but I'll note that they were wedding fairs that I had done sort of 2 or 3 years previous. So I find at wedding fairs there tends to be a really, really long lead time on it, whereas with things like Instagram and features, that's more of a short lead time. People are kind of finding you in real time rather than holding onto your card for years and then booking. So I think it is really important to have quite a few different streams of inquiries and where people find you, because if you're putting all your eggs in one basket and just focusing on one area, then what happens if Instagram gets deleted or your wedding planner stops trading or for whatever reason clients stop recommending you, that kind of thing. So I think it's really important to have a few different streams of it, people finding you and inquiry.
Definitely. Let's focus a little bit more on Instagram, because I think that that's such, it's, I want to say trend, it's bigger than a trend. It's so huge for the industry right now in terms of, clients being able to find companies that they're looking for, but also for companies to be able to advertise themselves there. What do you find is kind of your best way of getting out there on Instagram? Do you have kind of set hashtags that you use? Do you have a huge following? How did you build up the following that you do have?
So I've literally, the last few days, just hit 16,000 followers on Instagram, wow, which looks good, but I would say that is not everything. The main thing that is important to focus on for Instagram is the engagement, because it's all very about having a big following, but if they're not really engaging with you, then nobody's going to see your content. Sure. That's just the way that the algorithm works. So it's really important to kind of drive engagement, which will up your reach, and it kind of is an upward spiral from there. The algorithm is changing all the time. There's just been a recent update which has just killed everything. So I'm going to be doing a live on there in the next day or two, just to help push my reach a little bit. But Instagram is really important for business for me. I get probably about 2/3 of my inquiries through Instagram, maybe half my inquiries through Instagram, and then 1/3 of my bookings actually originate from Instagram as well. So it's really quite a high driver of business for me. And there are a few different ways that you can do that. So with each post, and I would say post 2 or 3 times a week, but make sure that you optimize each of those posts. Like, don't just post and run, because a lot of people just put something up there without really considering it and don't really optimize it properly, and nobody's going to find it if it's just there. So it's really important to utilize all those features, such as the geotag, hashtags, tagging suppliers in the itself, but then also cross-posting. So I know not everybody has this feature, but if you do have it, there's a little paper airplane underneath images, which if you click that, you can link it over to your stories. So you have to think that stories and your feed are different audiences.
Yeah.
Some people are seeing your feed, some people are seeing your stories. So you have to try and target both. So cross-post across the different channels. And then also in stories, I would still hashtag, geotag, and tag the suppliers as well, because then you're covering all your bases. And what happens is when you tag your suppliers, then they can refeature, and then their whole audience has eyes on your work. So you are, in a sense, having other people do your marketing for you. Yeah. So I do a lot of that, and it really works. Like there's a couple of venues in particular, whenever I feature their images, they refeature, and pretty much without fail, I get 1, 2, 3 enquiries from that. So yeah, I would say be very considered when you are putting up your posts. It does take a little bit longer, maybe 5 or 10 minutes longer, but it means that you're not just wasting your time in putting out content that isn't going to lead anywhere. I mean, the whole goal really of Instagram is to convert, to get those inquiries and then to convert bookings as well. So it is, and it's a free medium as well. Obviously you can boost posts if you want to, and I do that sometimes, but for the majority it's getting that organic engagement. And in terms of growing your following, I would say just be consistent on there. Show your face. It really helps if you show who you are. Use Insta stories every day, multiple times every day, and it doesn't have to be a lot. Just, a couple of pictures or a couple of little videos, a couple of shares even. Share from your feed, share from other people's feeds as well. But do make sure that you're geotagging and tagging other people in those stories. And then you can also use, so I'm in quite a few photography groups, but also business groups as well. And quite often they'll have things like Follow Friday and things like that. So I would always comment on those. But instead of just putting your link, I would say do a screenshot of your feed so people know what to expect when they're going to follow you. So post your link and then post that with the screenshot. Most people will just post their links and not do anything else. And people are very unlikely to click on that if they don't know what they can expect. So yeah, that's a good tip there, to screenshot your feed and then add that into the comment as well as the link to your profile.
Love that. There are some really great tips. I think Instagram can be a little bit daunting to some people, can't it? It's essentially learning a whole new platform. It's totally different to Facebook, and there's so much that you can use it for that I think a lot of photographers just think, well, I'll just post and, as you say, run. This if there's a post there, it's got to do something. But there's a lot of work that goes in as well as that, isn't there?
There is, but I think it's just getting into a good habit, a good flow of it. So I know when I post, there are certain things I do. So I add the geotag, I add a nice caption. I'll maybe tag people in the caption, copy over a hashtag block from in my notes that I've prepared previously. That's a good tip. So get those hashtags up as quickly as you can. And then also cross-posting over to the stories as well. So I think there's like 5 different things that I do when I put a post up. And you kind of just get into a habit of doing it. Like, it sounds like a lot, but when you start doing it and you get to see those results, people start inquiring, people start booking. And, when they inquire and say, I found you on Instagram, well, that just kind of proves that it works. And that's all the more reason to just keep going with it.
Definitely. It's a little bit of a slow burner, Instagram, isn't it? I think you need to build it up and be consistent and show up daily, and then you'll start to see something back from that.
Yeah, it definitely is about being consistent. I teach a lot about this in my mentoring, and I think people do it, for a couple of weeks, maybe they'll do it consistently and then stop. But it's just about planning in advance, knowing what you're going to post, knowing what you're going to write and when. And then when you have that planned out, you're not getting to the morning and going, oh gosh, I need to post, what should I post? It's definitely kind of all planned out in advance. So
do you use any kind of scheduler for you to be able to schedule posts in advance?
So I post in real time, but I schedule what I'm going to say and what I'm going to post in advance. For me, I find that my engagement rate is higher when I post in real time rather than scheduling, because I'm live on Instagram for a little while, doing a little bit of engagement, post, and then do a little bit more engagement afterwards. And that seems to help me with a much higher engagement rate. I use an app I think it's called Preview. Let me just have a look. So this is what I use to schedule what images I'm going to use. It's called Preview. So I kind of have an idea of what images, what I need to say and what image is going to go with that. So I put I schedule it all out in preview, and then in notes I'll write out what is going to be the caption. So it's all planned in advance, and then you just have to copy things over.
Amazing. That sounds a really efficient way of making sure that you're consistent and that you're showing up and that you're there engaging with people as well.
I mean, don't get me wrong, some days I'm like, oh crap, what do I post about today? Because I haven't sorted anything out. But yeah, it's just about kind of putting out content there that people are going to be interested in, content that's helpful, pieces of advice and things like that. And a really good tip is, if you don't know what to write, just put the testimonial from the couple, because that's always a really good thing to use if you're not sure what to write. And it's generally quite a lengthy piece of text as well.
Amazing. That's fantastic. Now, you have a incredibly strong brand, Natalie, which I absolutely love. Like, you can look through your Instagram, your Facebook, your website, and you can really feel who you are and what your business is about. So for people that are still looking to develop their brand, or they've just started out kind of brand new, what would you say they can do to establish themselves in the industry and build their brand?
Okay. So I think the basis of a really strong brand is a reflection of yourself, who you are, what you like doing, your passions, that kind of thing, because then you are going to be enjoying what you're doing. You're not putting out things that you have to put out. It's kind of an extension of yourself, and when it is that extension, it's going to be more consistent. It's going to have a much it's going to all look like it all flows together, rather than it just being a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I have changed my branding up a lot over the years. When I first started, I was photographing a lot of weddings that were kind of quite cutesy, like cupcakes and bunting and things like that. And my branding really reflected that. So I think I was attracting those weddings because of my branding, but also my branding was going out there because those were the weddings I was getting.
Yeah. A bit of a vicious circle in that respect, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So if you do want to level up and switch it up, you do literally have to break that cycle. So I've done that a couple of times throughout my wedding photography business. But the very first logo I had was what I thought wedding photography should be. It wasn't about me and what I enjoyed and how I like to photograph. It was what I thought it should be. So it was like a little bird with a love heart in its mouth, and then the text was very kind of scrolly. But I didn't really have much weight behind it because I didn't believe in it so much. It's what I thought it should be. So a couple of years, maybe a year or two later, I kind of up-leveled it, and all I did was kind of change the colouring of it. And that was more me, but it was not really reflective of where I wanted to be. So I think it's always important to have one eye on one step ahead, one eye in the game, and then always looking ahead to see how you can make things better for your clients and yourself. So then I completely changed the logo, and I had like a little scarab beetle with quite plain text, and that was great. I had that logo I think for about 4 years, I think it was. And then it was earlier this year, so thanks to lockdown, I totally redid my whole website, and I changed my logo again. So now it's very sleek and streamlined, and it's very reflective of where my brand is at the moment. So I think unless your logo and your whole branding is reflective of where you want to be, break that cycle, change it up a little bit, and then up level everything else along with it. So I knew that when I put my pricing up, I needed to up level everything. I hadn't even touched my website for like 3 years. So I consciously up leveled everything across the board. So that was not just the logo, but the colors that I was using, the whole flow of the website, the usability of the website, the content that I was showing both on the website, the weddings that get featured on other blogs, and also the content that I'm putting out there on social media. I consciously up-leveled everything across the board so that it all kind of flows nicely. So I think that's really important, to make sure that everything is very consistent. That's when you get that really strong brand, is when it's all consistent across the board.
Yeah. And when you're looking at your branding, where do you start? So you've obviously rebranded a couple of times in the last 10 years. And at each point, do you feel like you have some kind of feeling of where you want that to go? Or do you sit down and you literally think, right, I know where I want to be, but how does this brand reflect that?
So I suppose it's a little bit of both. Like, I've always kind of known the kind of thing that I like. And then I normally would do a little bit of research and then, jot down a few ideas together and get them over to a logo designer. But it's kind of like, it's almost like steps. I've kind of looked at it as steps. So every time I've changed the logo, it generally coincides with when I'm putting my pricing up.
Yeah.
Because I think, okay, so this logo doesn't really reflect my next price point. What can I do about that?
Yeah.
Or the work on my social media, the work on my website doesn't really reflect it. So I'm not up leveling everything at the same time. Yeah. This current change in branding, again, I've put my pricing up this year, and that's not because of COVID. I'm not profiteering from it. I was going to be doing it anyway. For a conscious shift. I've got another shift coming in my business soon, and it was for that reason. So yeah, I would say that it's a little bit of both the things that you mentioned. Yeah.
Amazing. Now, in terms of couples portraits, I know I said earlier that, people worry about a whole host of things when they're coming into the wedding industry, or even as, current photographers that have had pretty much this year out. I've shot 2 weddings all year. And I think next year I'll definitely have those like first time flutters again in some kind of way. Like it'll be a bit of like, I've got a wedding potentially in February, if that goes ahead, fingers crossed. And I think I'll definitely feel like that. Gosh, I'm shooting a wedding again. Like, I hope I remember what to do. For people that kind of are starting out or are feeling a little bit like they've lost their way after this year, what are your top tips for kind of, the couples portrait side of things, getting those really creative, natural, authentic images?
So you're not alone in that. I shot my first wedding on the 15th of August, and then the one before that was on New Year's Eve. So there was like an 8-month gap.
Yeah.
And I felt really out of my comfort zone with it because I wasn't kind of used to doing it. The next one was okay, but I still felt a little bit awkward. What I tend to do is get the safe shots first and then get more creative. But I think couples feed off your energy and how kind of confident you are with it. So the first wedding or two, I didn't really feel that confident, and I feel like I maybe didn't get as strong images as I could. Obviously get the shots that the couple are happy with, and then get the shots that you want to create and the shots that you're happy with. But I think it kind of comes with experience, and also consistency as well. So when you're kind of immersed in it, you kind of get in a flow with it, and that's why I'm really disappointed with the second lockdown that weddings have stopped again, because the couple of weddings that I shot right before lockdown, I feel like I absolutely nailed it. And that's such a great feeling as a photographer, not just for myself, but I know for the couple, because they phone me up crying. So I feel like, you do need to kind of be consistent with it. So for that reason, I would say get out there, take maybe creative portraits of yourself. If you can set your camera up on a timer, do some creative portraits with your other half. We are allowed to go outside. I think we can take photographs of the people outside. So maybe just do a couple of engagement shoots, family shoots, portrait shoots, things like that, because it's kind of like riding a bicycle. You do get back onto it very easily, but there is that little bit of a wobble in the beginning. And then when you really kind of get into your stride with it, that's when it just becomes much easier to get into that creative flow. So I think the key thing is just to be consistent with it. And for people that are just starting out, if they don't have much confidence with couple shots, practice. It's not the new lens that's going to help you, it's you that's going to help you. So I think it's really important just to get out there and practice. And I still do this sometimes when I travel. I find couples to do creative shoots with, and that really helps me kind of push myself out of the really hone in on my style, and push myself creatively. So I still do it, 10 years into business, 5-6 years into weddings now, I still do that. So for anyone starting out, I would definitely recommend to do that.
And then in the actual kind of, let's say we have a couple right in front of us now, and your mind goes blank. You've not shot weddings in a year, or you're brand new to the industry. What are your go-tos?
So I normally start with safe shots. So I get them to look at the camera for a couple of photographs. I always try and get options for the couple shots. So I'll do like a full length and then a close-up shot. So always, with every kind of pose, with every movement, try and get a couple of shots, because then that's how you get that nice storytelling element. Normally get the ones looking at me, because they're going to be the most awkward. Then I show them the back of the camera, And generally, without fail, people go, oh, they look okay. And right from the off, that makes people feel more comfortable. And because they feel more comfortable, it's easier for me to do my job. And then they trust me. They know that what I'm doing is going to make them look good. It's going to get them great pictographs. That's a new thing. Great pictures. So yeah, I show them the back of the camera. And what I also normally do is do a few wide shots, but then get in really, really close and get some nice close shots. Obviously, at the moment, I can't get in too close. So I'm just shooting on a long focal length and holding my arms out as far as I can to get those close shots without me physically getting too close. And what that does, it almost like breaks their comfort bubble, because a lot of times people have that, you know, there's like a foot or two, that's their personal space, and if anyone gets in that, they feel really uncomfortable. You know, it's like on the tube at rush hour, it's like, oh my god, we're really close. So that's what I do. I have those two little exercises, show them the back of the camera, and I promise they'll either go, oh, they look okay, or the you know, if there's a girl, or maybe sometimes the guy, they'll say, oh, I need to tuck my shirt in, or I need to just sort my hair out, or I need to put a little bit more lipstick on. Then repeat those two exercises and show them, and pretty much I would say 99% of the time they go, oh wow, oh, they look okay. And they almost sound quite shocked. So then I make a little bit of a joke of it. I'm like, oh, you sound shocked, you know, did you think I was going to take some bad photographs or something? But in a really kind of jokey way. I'm quite jokey and informal with my couples, and then they kind of laugh, and then right from that, you know, it's much easier to get those natural shots of them, and for them to kind of relax into it, because it's really important that they relax into it to get those nice shots. So many people come to me and say, we don't like having our photograph taken, we're really awkward, we want to book you because all your couples look natural and relaxed. And I say, well, they all said that they don't like having photographs taken as well. So that just shows that, you know, it's making the couples feel comfortable, is how you're gonna, you know, that's gonna translate in the images.
And I guess shooting through those in between moments, you know, like you said there, you made them laugh with a comment that you said, and they laughed at what you said, but then I presume you're still kind of shooting through it.
Yeah, exactly. Shoot through the moments. So you do have those static shots of them looking at the camera or facing each other, but then I always get a lot of in between shots, movement shots, that kind of thing, because that is what typically it just relaxes the whole couple session, and it just makes them more relaxed, and when they're more relaxed, I'm more relaxed, you know. So it's kind of, as I said before, getting into that flow of it. But you do need to show them that they look okay on the camera and that they're doing a good job as well. So I constantly reassure my couples throughout the process, more so on an engagement shoot than on a wedding day, because on a wedding day, for me, it's really important that the couple just enjoy that time together. But on an engagement shoot, I will reassure them the whole time. Sorry. I had laryngitis a couple of weeks ago because I shot like 5 weddings throughout September. And totally lost my voice. It's wearing the mask that like muffles your voice, so you have to shout even louder. So yeah, my voice is still a bit funny, so if I do croak, it's not, you know, it's not anything bad, it's just the laryngitis still here. But yeah, it's more with just going back to the couple shots. It's just making them feel comfortable, and then, you know, translating that into your images, and having them trust you as well, trust that you can get those nice photographs for them that they've seen on your website. That can be them in those photos, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So from going from kind of casual, authentic, natural, right through to the formal, I mean, Natalie, you are well known in the industry for your incredible formal group photos. And I say formal, they don't look formal, they look so chilled, so relaxed. For me, they've got a bit of like a Downton Abbey feel about them. I love it. So tell us where that came from. Have you always shot group photos like that? Did you notice there was that kind of niche and style that you really enjoyed, or was it more of a, you noticed in the market in general, in the industry, that was missing?
So I suppose it's kind of come from my fashion background. I've always been very comfortable kind of posing lots of people, from, you know, I've photographed models and things like that, and sometimes quite big groups of people for commercial and things. But it was one particular wedding, I know exactly when it was, one particular wedding, and it was quite a big bridal party. And I thought, I really don't want to have them all just standing in a row. Up until that point, I think I'd had weddings that had about 2 or 3 bridesmaids and 2 or 3 groomsmen, so not huge. But I think this one particular wedding had like 12 different 12 each, not 12 each side, 12 in total, so that's quite a lot just to stand in a row. And I think there was quite a differentiation in heights as well. So this particular wedding was out in the countryside, and there was a nice fence, so I just got a couple of the guys to stand up on the fence, a couple of the girls to just stand in quite a, hands on the hips, that kind of thing. And it was just bringing those different levels in. It just made it look a little bit more interesting, I suppose. It kind of gave it a more editorial edge than just everyone standing in a line.
Yeah.
And then there was a wedding that I shot, I think it was a few weeks or a month later or so, and they again had an even bigger bridal party, but there wasn't really anywhere, there were no fences or anything like that to do this with them. So what I did was I noticed that during the ceremony there'd been some really nice chairs that they'd had flowers on the side. So I said to a couple of the groomsmen, like, can you grab me a few chairs and we'll just get some people sitting and some people standing. And I just kind of arranged everybody in a very informal manner, and they loved them. That wedding got featured on Love My Dress, and then I had a few inquiries of people saying, oh, this group shot's really interesting, like I'd love that group shot at my wedding. Yeah. And I also put that wedding on my website as well, so when people came to my website they said, oh, I really like this group shot, can I have that? So it kind of spiraled because people saw something different and they wanted, sometimes they were requesting it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I would ask them, so I would just show them on my phone, this is the kind of thing I'm thinking for a group shot, would you like that? Mm-hmm. Sometimes they would say, no, we just want people standing, either boy girl, or girls one side, boys the other side, and that's totally fine, because these photographs are theirs, they're not mine. I'm not going to force them to do anything. So it kind of spiraled because it was a little bit of me kind of encouraging couples to have that, or just asking them, would you like this, and then saying, oh, actually that looks good, yes, let's do it. Mm-hmm. And then more and more people were seeing those images. It's that the age-old thing of show what you want to shoot. I was showing these group shots on my website, whereas most people won't show any group shots. I was showing these on blog features, I was showing these on my social media, and I don't even know how many different group shots like that I've done now, probably like 100 or something, like a lot anyway. And people just seem to really like them. As I said, there is quite an editorial feel to it. It's not that typical traditional lineup. It's something a little bit more interesting and a little bit more kind of edgy, fashiony, Tatler, Harper's Bazaar kind of thing,
Oh, definitely.
So there's a few different ways that I do it now, but they kind of all have that overall feel.
I know a lot of photographers come to you about this setup as well now, don't they? So what are your kind of top tips for, people to get a bit more creative with their group shots?
Yeah, so I actually have a whole course on this. I've run it 3 times. I think about 60 or 70 people have taken the course. I now just have it on Evergreen, so people can just go to my website and get it. And a lot of people are still doing that now, and that's really great to see. Loads of people have actually bought it this year, and I suppose this is a year for people to just step up their game, to learn, to be their best for 2021. Fingers crossed. But a few top tips I would say are those shots, the more editorial shots, I generally keep them to just the bridal party. Mm-hmm. And the reason is that they do take a little bit longer, not a lot longer, just a little bit longer. Some couples do request them for all of the family group shots, which is totally fine. I just make sure that they know that they need a little bit more time to get all of that done. But then it's also good to have an idea in your head of where you want to do it. So have a think about the backdrop, have a think about the light, that kind of thing, and where you want to do it. So as I said, there are a few different ways that you can do these group shots. Sometimes you can do them on steps, or the main way that I do it is with chairs. So you've got those different levels. But I always make sure that the couple know in advance if they want to do it. And then as I'm doing it, I show everyone on my phone, this is the kind of thing we're going for. Because sometimes everyone's like, what are you doing? This is weird. But just show them on your phone and people go, oh, that looks cool. Yeah, we want that. So a few different ways to get them to look really natural are to get a few shots of them all looking at the camera. Then I just get them to all just have a little chat amongst themselves. And then I get them to look at the camera again and then do one more shot of them all just looking to each other. So instead of everyone just standing looking at the camera looking like, I don't know, a mug shot, it's keeping it very relaxed and very fluid so that everybody looks really natural and brings their own personality to it. because I do guide them of where to stand and how to kind of hold themselves, but I do let people know, you know, bring your own personality to it, and that's how it looks really natural.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of, you know, you're choosing where people stand, where they sit, who goes where, is that a conscious decision of, you know, it's always the women that you would put on the chair, or do you always mix it up? What decisions are you going through when you're doing that?
I always mix it up. Yeah, I always mix it up. Generally, I'll ask the bride first if you want to sit or stand, and then say, would you like your wife or your husband to do? And then just go from there, really. And then I literally just do it at random. There are a few little things that I consider as I'm doing it. I'm not going to give too much away because it's in the course. But there is, there's kind of a method to it. And it's just, I try not to balance it at all. It's quite kind of organic.
Look quite random.
Yeah, I like it to look random. It's considered random.
Yeah.
Or randomly considered, or I don't know, whatever you would want to call it. But yeah, there is kind of a method to it. But it's the overall goal is that everybody just looks like themselves, their personalities coming through, and it looks really kind of natural and relaxed.
Amazing. And if anybody wants to find out a little bit more about that course, or indeed take you up on that, is that your website that they can head to find that?
Yes, I have a whole education section on my website. There's a drop down, and then there's a whole page for the How to Ace Group Shots course. It's all on there. Fantastic. And there's a few examples of the group shots that I've created on there as well, just so you can kind of see what to expect.
Love that. Amazing. So, I mean, we've briefly touched on the education side of things there, but I know that we've missed a huge portion of it. Education is a massive side of your business now, isn't it? You know, teaching other photographers, giving them tools and ideas and tips to be able to run with their business. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Success Accelerator program?
Yeah, so I'm actually so excited about this. Like, a bit of my heart and soul has gone into this. I put this together because I was seeing a lot of people struggling this year. People saying, well, I'm not getting any bookings. I'm going to have to sell my cameras. I'm going to have to get a full-time job. And I had a few people come to me for mentoring. And I thought, what can I do? What can I put together that helps as many people as possible? So I started this off by running it as a group mentoring program. And when I started writing down all the different things that I could help people with, it turned into 5 weeks. And there is a lot within those 5 weeks. There's like 3 or 4 modules within each week. So it's about an hour and a half content each week. And then I also ran a live Q&A session. So people were getting about 2.5 hours each week over that 5 weeks. And alongside that, there is a supporting Facebook group as well for accountability and things like that. But the main reason that I put it together is to help as many people as I could, because the wedding industry, it's a community. It's not just about me doing well. I really wanted to put something together that would help other people. And there are people that did the first run in September. So September 2020 was the first run. And now I'm kind of up-leveling it a little bit, adding some stuff to it. And I'm going to run it again in January, because I think it'd be a really nice way to kickstart 2021. So the enrollment for the second run opens on Tuesday, the 17th of November, until Thursday, the 26th of November. I'm going to keep it open, the enrollment open for 10 days for people to join up. I'm adding a few things like a payment plan and a few other options, just to make it easy for people and as accessible to as many people as possible. But within that, there are modules like mindset. So that is the number one thing that's got me to where I am, mindset. We're also talking about things like branding, portfolio. Gosh, what else is there? There's like 17 different modules. I'm just trying to think of what else there is. There's marketing, social media, blogging. There's so much in there. I can't think of everything off the top of my head, but it is worth it, I promise. And what's really interesting is my goal was to have 10 sign-ups, and I had more than triple that number for September. Had 35 people sign up, and I didn't even push it. All I did was I put it on my Insta stories like twice, I think. I think I mentioned it once on my feed without a graphic, so it was just in the text. And I sent out 2 emails as well. That's all I did. So this time I'm really just trying to up level everything and help people even more. So I'm going to, bit of a spoiler, get a couple of guest speakers in there to help people with a couple of things. I'm going to be doing a bonus webinar for people. Another bit of a spoiler, but that's going to help people immediately, that bonus webinar. So it's just about taking what I have and what I've learned over these 10 years in business and the last 5-6 years in weddings, and taking those golden nuggets. Because for me, education, learning, training is really key in growing your business and sustaining your business. You know, this year my business has not only sustained, but it's thrived. In October, I think my income was like 12 grand. August was like 16 grand. There was another month that was like over 10 grand. And that's just proof that what I can teach and help people with, it really works. It works for me. So these are tried and tested techniques and strategies that I use in my own business. And some of the things that I teach in that, I'm literally doing myself in my business right now. And there's one person in particular who did the program in September. She has already, I think it was within like 2 weeks or something, so I need to check in and see if she's had any updates on that. But within 2 weeks of the program finishing, she'd taken over 10 grand in business.
Wow.
So that just proves that, you know, taking the action on that knowledge really, really does lead to those results.
Definitely.
So yeah, I'm really excited to do it again. It's a bit nervous and it's lots of work to do something like this, but it's really nice to help people and just see people getting those results.
Absolutely. And I bet you feel like so amazing to hear somebody come back and say, you know, Natalie, I've just taken 10 grand's worth of business.
Oh my gosh, so much. Yeah, so much. It's like, you know, you've helped people, you know, literally made their life better by helping them. And for me, that's really important. That's what it's about. It's not just about running a course. It's about making sure that people get those results, that they take the action, that they get those results. It's like a fast track to where I am. If they do, you know, the program, it's almost like a blueprint of my business. And if they do all the stuff, then they can get to where I am today.
I love that. Fantastic. So if you could start your career all over again, is there anything that you'd do differently?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So over the years, I spent so much on equipment. And it was almost like, when I get that camera body, I'm going to be successful. When I get that lens, I'm going to be successful. When I get my laptop, I'm going to be successful. But that is not what makes a successful business. That is just you telling yourself that that's going to make a successful business.
Yeah.
For me, the turning point really was when I started to focus on education and training and up-leveling everything and learning and, you know, going to seminars, learning from coaches, doing online training, doing, you know, watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts and things like that. The amount that I've spent on equipment that I have never used. So I'm looking at boxes now in my office of light triggers and lenses and things like that I've never, ever touched. And that is one thing that I would do differently. I would not buy as much equipment, but I would also make sure that I say no very early on, because I used to do a lot for no money or for very little money. And it was only when I sort of started to realize the value of my time. And honestly, I realized that when my son got to about 16. So we're talking like in the last 3 years, I've really valued my time, because however much time you're putting into your business, you're giving to clients, that's time out of your life that you're literally never going to get back. And your time is priceless. And when you start to realize the value of your time and the worth that your time is, you know, you can kind of charge with confidence, and you won't put your time into things that might help your business. You'll put your time into things that will help your business.
Love that. Amazing. And if you could add a final piece of advice, maybe something that's really changed your business or your personal life, what would that be?
As cheesy as it sounds, I think believing in myself, because for so many years I haven't believed in myself. And it is really when you start to, oh gosh, it's such a funny one, isn't it? It's like the mindset. As I said, the mindset is really what has stepped up my business. I would always feel a little bit icky about selling. I would always feel like I wasn't quite good enough. There would be that comparison, you know, comparisonitis and imposter syndrome has been so big for me over my career. But it's when you find that belief in yourself that actually what you can bring to somebody is a totally unique thing that other people can't bring to the table. And when you look at it as you're helping people, you're making their life better, you're giving them something that they wouldn't otherwise have, that really changes everything. So for me, it's putting my time into things that help people and just really believing in myself.
Amazing. If our listeners would like to find out any more about you, get in touch with you, sign up to any of your courses, where can they do that?
So my website is www.nataliejweddings.com, and I'm also over on Instagram at nataliejweddings too.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time today. It has been such a pleasure chatting with you and catching up. I know that I've taken a ton from this interview, so 100% our listeners will have done as well.
Oh, good. Yeah, I hope it helps people.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Natalie. I'll catch you soon.
My pleasure. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Okay guys, that's everything from me today. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. I thought Natalie was absolutely fantastic and shared so much amazing information with you all. For the show notes, you can head to www.studioninja.co/episode 18. Please don't forget to rate us on the platform that you're listening on. A little bit of love goes a very long way. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of NinjaCast, brought to you by Studio Ninja. Beautifully designed and super easy to use, Studio Ninja will help you manage your leads, clients, shoots, invoices, contracts, workflows, and so much more. To learn more or start your 30-day free trial, go to www.studioninja.co.